Hey, this is Tony from the Cold Case Project, where we focus on unsolved cases across the United States. Our mission is to bring attention to these unresolved mysteries that need your help. All the information we cover in these cases is readily available on the internet, but we rewrite and repurpose it for the purpose of these videos. Our goal is to spread the word about the thousands of unsolved cold cases still out there. Thank you for watching. If you want to help shed light on these cases, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Your support can make a difference.
The disappearance of Jessica Hamby is a troubling case from Hackleburg, Alabama, marked by conflicting accounts, a frigid morning, and a series of unanswered questions that continue to plague investigators and her family. Jessica Hamby, a 24-year-old mother of 3, was struggling with addiction. In an effort to get clean, she entered a detox program at Lakeland Community Hospital in Haleyville, Alabama. On January 2, 2018, Jessica and another woman left the facility after a reported disagreement. Jessica's friend dropped her off at a residence on Elgin Cochran Road in Hackleburg, Alabama. That night, Jessica was with Eric Edwards and siblings Alicia and Derek Moats. The last time Jessica was reportedly seen was early the next morning. On January 3, 2018, at approximately 6 a.m., an argument occurred. According to Edwards and the Moats siblings, Jessica left the house, stating she was going to watch the sunrise. The temperature that morning was a mere 6 degrees Fahrenheit, and Jessica was not wearing a coat. She was never seen again. Jessica's last known communications were with Eric Edwards. At 7:51 a.m., she sent him a text message stating, "Hey, they ain't gonna shoot me for walking." She then called his phone twice at 7:53 a.m. These were the last known signals from her phone. The accounts provided by those who last saw Jessica, Eric Edwards, Alicia Moats, and Derek Moats, have been described by authorities as inconsistent. Despite multiple search warrants executed in the case and polygraph examinations administered to Edwards and the Moats siblings, no one has been charged in connection with Jessica's disappearance. Jessica's parents, Keith and Lynn Hamby, had been caring for her 3 children, aged 9, 5, and 4, in Russellville, Alabama. Jessica had placed her children in their care while seeking treatment for her drug addiction and maintained regular contact with them. The timeline of Jessica's movements, pieced together through cell phone data, reveals a confusing picture. January 2, 2018, 9 p.m. Jessica's phone activates, showing communication with Alicia Moats. 10:05 p.m. Jessica's phone is tracked near a camper on Highway 43, where Alicia Moats, Eric Edwards, David Shane Reynolds, Gilbert Shaw, and Derek Moats are present. 10:26 p.m. Jessica's phone is tracked approximately 4 miles from the camper near Harper's Junction. 11:26 p.m. Jessica's phone is tracked on Elgin Cochran Road. 11:38 p.m. Jessica's phone moves, indicating she is in a vehicle leaving Elgin Cochran Road. 11:42 p.m. Jessica's phone is tracked near Military Trail, January 3, 2018, 1:39 a.m. Jessica's phone is tracked on Elgin Cochran Road, 2:42 a.m. Jessica's phone leaves Elgin Cochran Road, 7:31 a.m. Jessica's phone leaves Elgin Cochran Road, 7:33 a.m. Jessica's phone is tracked in Northwest Hamilton, 7:52 a.m. Jessica's phone is tracked near Rideout Falls, 7:51 a.m. Jessica sends a text message to Eric Edwards, "Hey, they ain't gonna shoot me for walking." 7:53 a.m. Jessica calls Eric Edwards' phone twice. Jessica's phone signal ceases. Several factors complicate the investigation. The individuals who were with Jessica the night she disappeared provided inconsistent accounts of the events. While cell phone data places Jessica away from the Elgin Cochran Road residence at times, its reliability in the rural area has been questioned. Polygraph examinations of those involved indicated deception. Jessica's parents did not initially report her missing for approximately 10 days, as they were accustomed to brief periods of no contact while she was in treatment. Adding another layer of complexity, Jessica had expressed fear for her safety in the months leading up to her disappearance. A friend of Jessica Hamby, Jeremy Abbott had gone missing from Haleyville, Alabama, in June 2017. Jessica told her parents she knew where Jeremy's body was located and feared for her own life if she revealed this information to the police. Jessica eventually led police to Jeremy Abbott's body, where he was found hanging from a tree. The Marion County Sheriff's Department quickly ruled his death a suicide without a coroner's examination or an autopsy. Following this, Jessica reported receiving threats. She left Alabama for a time, returning later and entering the detox program. She reportedly told staff at the detox facility that she felt safer there because she had witnessed a murder. 5.5 months after reporting the location of Jeremy Abbott's body, Jessica Hamby disappeared. The same investigators who handled Jeremy Abbott's case are also involved in Jessica Hamby's disappearance, raising questions about potential connections and investigative approaches. The case remains unsolved. Eric Edwards is currently incarcerated on unrelated drug charges. Jessica's family continues to search for answers. Jessica Hamby is a white female, 5 feet 2 inches tall, weighing approximately 125 pounds, with brown hair and hazel eyes. She has pierced ears and may wear glasses. She has tattoos, Boricua on her right wrist and Forever on her left hand. She was 24 years old at the time of her disappearance and would be 31 today. Anyone with information about Jessica Hamby's disappearance is urged to contact the Marion County Sheriff's Department at 205-921-2101 or 205-921-7433, the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency at 334-353-2250, or private investigator Jeff Means of Sound Mind Investigations at 256-508-0047. In the summer of 1988, 15-year-old Brenda K. Green vanished from Brookwood, Alabama, leaving behind a mystery that continues to haunt her family. On July 2, 1988, Brenda left her family's residence in Brookwood. She was accompanied by a male friend named Wayne Dickey. Brenda informed her mother that she was going to visit friends who lived in Abernant, Alabama, a town approximately 10 miles northeast of her family's home in Brookwood. The last confirmed sighting of Brenda K. Green occurred later that same day at a residence located across the street from Hosmer's Grocery on Highway 216 in Abernant. Wayne Dickey reportedly dropped Brenda off at this house, stating that she intended to visit other friends there. However, when they arrived, those friends were not home. Despite this, Wayne Dickey left Brenda on the front steps of the residence, waiting for her friends to return. Later that evening, at approximately 9:30 p.m., Brenda K. Green contacted her parents by telephone. During this call, she told her mother that she would not be home until later. The content of this phone call, including its origin and the specific details of Brenda's plans, remains a significant point of interest in the investigation. This was the last time that Brenda K. Green was ever heard from. Brenda K. Green had a history of running away from home, but her absences were typically brief. Consequently, law enforcement initially believed that she had run away again when she disappeared in July 1988. However, as time passed and Brenda did not return, authorities began to suspect that her disappearance involved more sinister circumstances. The case is now classified as a missing and endangered person case, and it remains unsolved. Brenda's parents, Larry and Betty Green, have expressed their belief that law enforcement did not initially take their daughter's disappearance seriously. They believe that the police, aware of Brenda's previous instances of running away, assumed that she would return on her own. According to her parents, Brenda only ran away when she was angry with them, and it was uncharacteristic for her to be gone for an extended period without contacting them. It is important to remember that this case occurred in the 1980s. A time when law enforcement protocols and public awareness regarding missing persons, particularly runaways, were different from those of today. Currently, in most jurisdictions in the United States, missing person reports are taken very seriously, regardless of the individual's history. Unfortunately, Brenda K. Green's parents believe that her case did not receive the immediate attention and thorough investigation it deserved. The lack of definitive information and the passage of time have left Brenda's family in a state of perpetual uncertainty. They do not know where their daughter is, whether she is alive, or what happened to her. The absence of closure is a heavy burden for any family to bear, and the Greens have endured this for over 3 decades. The role of Wayne Dickey, the last person known to have seen Brenda, remains a crucial aspect of the investigation. The circumstances surrounding Brenda's departure from his company and her subsequent phone call home have raised questions. While there is no direct evidence implicating Wayne Dickey in any wrongdoing, his actions and knowledge of Brenda's plans are undoubtedly of significant interest to investigators. It's natural to wonder about his whereabouts, his cooperation with the investigation, and the consistency of his accounts. The disappearance of Brenda K. Green is a deeply troubling case, marked by a combination of teenage independence, a confusing timeline, and the lingering possibility of foul play. The initial dismissal of her disappearance as a runaway case, coupled with the lack of definitive answers, has only compounded the family's suffering and left a community wondering what became of the young woman who vanished one summer day in Alabama. Brenda K. Green was a white female, born on November 7, 1972, making her a Scorpio. At the time of her disappearance, she was 15 years old. Today, she would be 51 years old. She is described as being 5 feet 2 inches tall and weighing approximately 106 pounds. She was last seen wearing a white tank top, blue jeans that were signed with a marker, and white sneakers. Brenda has brown hair and brown eyes. She may have dyed her hair blonde. She has a scar on her left eyebrow, and her ears are pierced. An age-progressed photo of Brenda, created in 2006, depicts what she might have looked like at 34 years old. Anyone with any information, no matter how small, about the disappearance of Brenda K. Green is urged to contact the Tuscaloosa County Sheriff's Office at 205-752-0616. Kelly Howard was a 41-year-old dental hygienist, a respected and well-liked member of the Riverside community. She worked at Riverside Family Dentistry, located on Highway 78, and was known for her warm personality and ability to connect with people. Her life, by all accounts, was relatively ordinary, centered around her work, her family, and her relationships. This ordinariness makes her sudden disappearance all the more jarring and inexplicable. The day she vanished, June 2, 2009, began as a typical workday. Kelly arrived at the dental clinic, ready to attend to her patients. The clinic, like many dental practices, closed for a lunch break between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. It was during this lunch break that the course of Kelly Howard's life and the lives of those who loved her took a dramatic and unforeseen turn. At approximately 1 p.m., Kelly Howard was last seen leaving Riverside Family Dentistry. This seemingly routine departure marked the last confirmed sighting of her. She left the clinic, but where she went and what transpired afterward remains shrouded in mystery. The discovery of Kelly Howard's abandoned vehicle at her workplace was the first indication that something was amiss. Her car was still in the parking lot, but she was nowhere to be found. This discovery immediately raised concerns, as it suggested that she had not left in her own car, deviating from her usual routine. However, it was the discovery of her car keys that added a chilling and perplexing dimension to the case. The keys were not inside the vehicle, where one would normally expect to find them. Instead, they were found outside the car, lying in a plastic bag in some weeds adjacent to the dental office building. This detail has become a focal point of the investigation and a source of intense speculation. Why were the keys in a plastic bag? Was this an attempt to preserve fingerprints, or was there another, more sinister reason? Why were they discarded in the weeds rather than left in a more obvious location? These questions have fueled countless theories and raised the specter of foul play. The unusual placement of the keys suggests that Kelly Howard did not simply leave her car and walk away. It implies a deliberate act, a conscious decision to separate the keys from the vehicle in a manner that is both strange and unsettling. The day before she disappeared, Kelly Howard made an unusual request at work. She asked her boss for 3 days off, stating that she wanted to take a short vacation. This request, while seemingly innocuous on the surface, raised eyebrows because she did not inform her husband, Boyd Howard, of her plans. This lack of communication with her spouse about a planned trip is considered by many to be out of character and suggests that she may have been planning something that she did not want him to know about. Kelly Howard had been married to Boyd Howard for 8 years. She was also the mother of an adult son, Jusha Dausa. Her family and personal life appeared to be stable, though the dynamics of her relationship with her husband and the reasons behind her secretive vacation request remain a subject of speculation. Kelly Howard's medical history also became a factor in the investigation. She suffered from a blood disorder that caused episodes of memory loss. She was on medication for this condition, which, according to some reports, could cause disorientation. This medical information raised concerns about her ability to recall events leading up to her disappearance or to navigate unfamiliar surroundings. It also introduced the possibility that her disappearance was related to a medical episode, though the lack of any subsequent contact or activity makes this theory less plausible. In the immediate aftermath of Kelly Howard's disappearance, law enforcement launched a comprehensive investigation. They treated the case as a missing person investigation, but the unusual circumstances surrounding her vanishing quickly raised concerns about the possibility of foul play. Investigators conducted extensive searches of the area around the dental office, both on foot and with specialized search teams. They canvassed the neighborhood, interviewed potential witnesses, and followed up on any leads that emerged. However, despite their best efforts, the investigation yielded few concrete results. There were no eyewitnesses to Kelly Howard's departure from the dental office, and no one came forward with any credible information about her whereabouts. The lack of any physical evidence or reliable leads left investigators with a daunting task. Law enforcement also examined Kelly Howard's digital footprint and financial activity. They checked her cell phone records, bank accounts, and credit cards, but found no activity after June 2, 2009. This complete absence of any digital or financial trace is highly unusual and suggests that she either intentionally cut off all contact or was prevented from using these resources. The lack of any activity on her cell phone, bank accounts, and credit cards is a significant aspect of this case. In today's world, it is almost impossible for someone to disappear completely without leaving some kind of digital or financial trail. The fact that Kelly Howard left no such trail suggests a level of planning or intervention that is deeply disturbing. As the investigation continued, the community of Riverside rallied together to support Kelly Howard's family and to help in the search efforts. Volunteers organized searches, distributed flyers, and held events to raise awareness about her case. A Facebook group was created to share information, coordinate search efforts, and provide a platform for the community to express their concern and support. The family of Kelly Howard, particularly her husband and son, endured unimaginable pain and uncertainty. They cooperated fully with law enforcement, providing them with information about Kelly's life, her habits, and her relationships. They also became the public face of the search efforts, appealing to the community for any information that might lead to her return. In September 2009, Governor Bob Riley offered a reward of $5,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of anyone involved in Kelly Howard's disappearance. This reward was later increased to $16,000, reflecting the growing concern and the desire for answers. The reward served as a reminder that the case remained open and that any information, no matter how small, could be crucial. The years following Kelly Howard's disappearance were marked by continued efforts to find her and uncover the truth. However, despite the best efforts of law enforcement and the community, no significant breakthroughs were made. The case remained unsolved, leaving Kelly Howard's family and the community to grapple with the agonizing uncertainty of her fate. In 2014, 5 years after Kelly Howard vanished, she was legally declared deceased. This decision, made in a St. Clair County probate court, was a difficult and emotional one for her family. Her husband, Boyd Howard, testified about the last time he saw his wife and his belief that she would have contacted her son if she were still alive. Riverside Police Chief Rick Oliver, who knew Kelly personally, also testified, expressing his opinion that she was no longer alive. Kelly's son, Jusha Dowsa, shared heart-wrenching testimony about his last visit with his mother and his conviction that she was gone. The legal declaration of death, while providing a form of closure for certain legal and administrative purposes, did not end the search for answers or diminish the pain of Kelly Howard's family. She is still considered a missing person, and her loved ones continue to seek information and advocate for her case. Anyone with information about the disappearance of Kelly Louise Howard is urged to contact the Saint, Clare County Sheriff's Office at 205-884-3333 or 205-884-2677, or the Riverside Police Department at 205-338-7692. The disappearance of Sheila Diane Hughes from Aliceville, Alabama, on September 1, 2000, is a chilling and unsolved case that continues to cast a long shadow over the community. It's a story marked by a young woman on the cusp of motherhood, a late-night departure, a mysterious statement, and a series of unanswered questions that have haunted her family for over 2 decades. This detailed account delves into the specifics of Sheila's disappearance, the investigation, and the enduring quest for truth. Sheila Diane Hughes was born on June 17, 1971. By September 2000, she was a vibrant 29-year-old woman, described by her family and friends as social, spontaneous, and someone who loved to bring people together. She had a knack for planning family reunions and organizing trips, demonstrating her outgoing and inclusive nature. However, September 2000 marked a pivotal moment in Sheila's life. She was 9 months pregnant with her first child, a baby boy she planned to name Renard Simmons Jr., after his father. This pregnancy was a significant event, a transition into a new chapter of her life. Her sister, Deborah Hughes, recalled that Sheila had made plans for after the baby's arrival. Sheila intended to stay with Deborah and her nieces for a few weeks, before finding her own place to live with her newborn son. She was looking forward to becoming a mother and establishing a home for her child. September 1, 2000, was Sheila's due date. Despite the anticipation of the impending birth, she had not yet gone into labor. As the day progressed, the waiting continued. That evening, at approximately 10:30 p.m., Sheila's boyfriend of 5 years, Renard Simmons, the father of her unborn child, came to her sister's residence. He asked Sheila to go for a ride with him, ostensibly to discuss their relationship. Sheila agreed to accompany him. Before leaving, she made a cryptic and unsettling statement to her sister, Deborah. According to Deborah, Sheila said, "If you don't ever see me again, don't worry about me because I have lived my life to the fullest." These words, spoken on the eve of her disappearance, have become a haunting element of the case, suggesting a premonition or a sense of foreboding. Sheila left with Renard Simmons that night, and that was the last time her family saw her. The timeline of events that followed is pieced together from Renard Simmons's account and the limited information available to investigators. At approximately 1 a.m. on September 2, 2000, Renard Simmons's car was stopped by police at a roadblock in Pickensville, Alabama. Pickensville is about 10 miles away from Aliceville. Officers at the roadblock confirmed that Sheila Hughes was in the car with Renard Simmons at that time. This is the last confirmed sighting of Sheila. Following the roadblock stop, Renard Simmons later told authorities that he drove Sheila back to her sister Deborah's home in Aliceville and dropped her off at approximately 3 a.m. However, Deborah Hughes disputes this account. She stated that she was home the entire night and never heard Sheila return. Deborah also mentioned that she had a security alarm installed on her front door, and it would have been triggered if Sheila had entered the house. The alarm never went off. Deborah's account directly contradicts Renard Simmons's version of events, raising serious questions about his credibility. Sheila Hughes never returned home. She has not been seen or heard from since that night. Her sudden and complete disappearance left her family and the community in a state of shock and disbelief. Sometime after Sheila's disappearance, her brown purse and her white slippers were discovered in Noxubee County, Mississippi. The items were found under a tree in a cotton field just west of the Alabama-Mississippi state line. Noxubee County is approximately 31 miles from Aliceville, Alabama. The discovery of these personal items, while providing some physical evidence, did not offer any clues as to Sheila's whereabouts or what had happened to her. The location of these items, some distance from her home, added another layer of mystery to the case. The investigation into Sheila Hughes's disappearance was complex and challenging. Law enforcement interviewed Renard Simmons extensively, but his account was inconsistent and contradicted by Sheila's sister. Investigators searched the area around Aliceville and Noxubee County, Mississippi, but the searches yielded no further evidence. Sheila's family members revealed that Renard Simmons was not pleased about her pregnancy. They stated that he wanted her to have an abortion and was angry that she refused. Despite this, Sheila still loved him and intended to name their baby after him. After Sheila's disappearance, her family noted that Renard Simmons did not seem particularly interested in finding her. He did not actively participate in any of the searches organized by her family and the community. This lack of involvement raised suspicions and fueled the belief that he knew more than he was telling. Sheila's family believes she is deceased and that she met with foul play. Authorities also suspect that she was a victim of foul play, given the circumstances of her disappearance, the conflicting accounts, and the lack of any subsequent contact. The years following Sheila's disappearance were filled with uncertainty and grief for her family. They continued to search for her, hoping for any information that might lead to her return or provide some answers. However, as time passed, the reality of the situation became increasingly grim. In February 2008, 7.5 years after her disappearance, Sheila Hughes was legally declared dead. This decision was a difficult one for her family, but it was necessary for legal and administrative purposes. Despite the legal declaration, the search for answers continued. Renard Simmons, the last person known to have seen Sheila Hughes, died in November 2013. His death further complicated the investigation, as he was unable to provide any further information or be held accountable for his involvement. Sheila Hughes's case remains unsolved. The lack of physical evidence, the conflicting accounts, and the passage of time have made it difficult to determine what happened to her. Her family continues to seek the truth, hoping that one day they will find closure. Sheila's mother, Rutha Hughes, expressed the family's enduring desire for answers, stating, "Dead or alive? I just want to know where she went and what happened to her." This sentiment encapsulates the pain and uncertainty that her family has endured for over 2 decades. The disappearance of Sheila Hughes is a tragic reminder of the devastating impact that such cases have on families and communities. The unanswered questions, the conflicting accounts, and the lack of closure leave a lasting scar. Sheila's case highlights the complexities of missing person investigations, particularly when there are no witnesses and the primary person of interest is deceased. At the time of her disappearance, Sheila Hughes was described as an African-American woman, 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighing 150 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She had pierced ears and scars on her left arm and lower hip. She was last seen wearing a gray shirt, stretchy white maternity shorts, and white house slippers. She was 9 months pregnant with a baby boy and planned to name him Renard Simmons, Jr. Her nickname was Boot. If she were alive today, Sheila would be 53 years old, and her son would be 27. The case of Sheila Diane Hughes remains open. Anyone with information about her disappearance is urged to contact the Aliceville Police Department at 2053736631. The morning of April 27, 1998, began like any other in Elmore County, Alabama. But the discovery that day would shatter the tranquility of the community and launch a desperate search for a missing woman. A white 1993 Geo Storm was found abandoned along Old Georgia Road, a secluded stretch of highway. There was no sign of the driver, But inside the car, a chilling scene awaited. A 2-year-old girl was found alone and unharmed, buckled into her car seat. The car belonged to 30-year-old Tracy Pittman Kegley, and the little girl was her daughter. The discovery sent immediate shockwaves through the area. Those who knew Tracy insisted she would never voluntarily leave her daughter alone. She would never put her child in danger. Yet, Tracy had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a haunting mystery that continues to confound investigators and torment her family. Today, Tracy Kegley is classified as an endangered missing person. If she were alive, she would be 55 years old. Before we delve into the heart of this case, it's crucial to understand who Tracy Kegley was. She was a white female, standing 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighing around 140 pounds. She had brown hair, often described as frosted with contrasting highlights, and striking green or hazel eyes. Distinguishing marks included a cesarean scar and pierced ears. On the day she disappeared, she was wearing pink shorts, a white top with a flower design, and white tennis shoes, size 8.5. Her dental records, fingerprints, and DNA are all available for comparison. Tracy was last seen alive in Wetumpka, Elmore County, Alabama, on April 26, 1998. Tracy was a native of Alabama, born and raised in the state. From her childhood, she was known as a bright and diligent student who stayed out of trouble. After graduating high school, she pursued a career in the medical field, a path that aligned perfectly with her kind and caring nature. She trained as a phlebotomist, a healthcare professional who draws blood samples from patients. Tracy excelled in this role. She possessed a warm sense of humor that put her patients at ease, and she was known for her gentle touch, her meticulous attention to detail, and her unwavering reliability. She was always punctual, always prepared, and always dedicated to her work. At the time of her disappearance, Tracy worked at the Alabama Reference Lab in downtown Montgomery and Russell Medical Center in Alexander City. But she was on the cusp of a new beginning. Just one day after she vanished, she was scheduled to start a new job at a dental office in Montgomery. It was still within the medical field, but a slightly different path, a new chapter in her life. In April 1998, Tracy and her daughter were living with Tracy's parents, Stephen and Linda Pittman, in eclectic Elmore County. When Tracy didn't return home that Sunday night, her parents were immediately concerned. While Tracy was 30 years old, an adult, it was completely out of character for her not to call or let them know if she would be late. Linda Pittman began calling Tracy's friends, trying to reach anyone who might have seen or heard from her, but no one had. Tracy's best friend, Tammy, shared the family's growing alarm. She knew this behavior was incredibly uncharacteristic of Tracy. That night, Tammy took to the streets, searching for any sign of Tracy, her daughter, or her car. As the hours ticked by, the concern deepened. The family initially hoped that Tracy's car had broken down on one of the long, isolated stretches of road common in the area. If that had happened, Tracy wouldn't have been able to call for help. She would have been stranded, waiting for someone to find her. Their initial search focused on finding her car, hoping to offer assistance. Tracy and her daughter had only been living with her parents in Eclectic for about a month before her disappearance. Prior to that, Tracy had lived with her husband, Gregory Kegley, in Montgomery. Their marriage had ended, and their divorce was finalized just 15 days before Tracy disappeared, on April 11th. Tracy was navigating this new phase of her life, adjusting to her new normal. She had a new job waiting for her, and in many ways, the most difficult part of her life, the divorce, was behind her. She had no reason to run away. The next morning, the white Geostorm was found abandoned on Old Georgia Road in Wetumpka, across from the T&H grocery store. This location was only about 9 miles from her parents' home. Old Georgia Road was a relatively busy road, and many people would have passed by that morning, initially not giving the abandoned car a second thought. There was nothing particularly striking about it. It could have been abandoned for any number of reasons. But then, a particularly observant driver noticed movement inside the car. His intuition told him to pull over and investigate. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. So, he did. He pulled over, walked to the car and peered through the tinted windows. He saw a toddler sitting in the back seat. She was unharmed and seemed relatively content, but there was no sign of a parent or guardian. It was an odd place to leave a car, let alone a car with a child inside. The driver immediately called 911, and a deputy from the Elmore County Sheriff's Office was dispatched to the scene. The deputy ran the car's license plate, confirming that it belonged to Tracy Pittman Kegley. The discovery raised a haunting question. Where was Tracy Kegley? When the car was found, it was unlocked, and the keys were still in the ignition, turned halfway. This detail has always intrigued investigators. The engine wasn't running, but the car's electricity was on. The radio was playing, and it appeared it had been on all night. This detail suggests a deliberate act, perhaps to soothe the toddler. But Tracy wouldn't have left the radio on and left her daughter alone if she needed to walk somewhere, or if her car had broken down. She would have taken her daughter with her. The radio being on suggests a possible abductor, attempting to comfort the child. Similarly, the car window was left cracked open 2 to 3 inches, presumably to ensure the baby had enough fresh air. This could have been how Tracy was driving, or it could have been another deliberate act by someone else. There was no sign of a struggle in or around the vehicle. The car was in perfect working order, with a full tank of gas. It hadn't broken down. Inside the car, investigators found Tracy's bag and her identification. This ruled out robbery as a motive. Almost immediately, Elmore County Sheriff Bill Franklin told reporters they were treating the case as an abduction or a kidnapping. Authorities rarely jumped to this conclusion so quickly, but in Tracy's case, the circumstances strongly suggested foul play. A massive search operation was launched. The area around Old Georgia Road was rural, with thick woods, a nearby lake, and flooded gravel pits from the winter. It was a challenging terrain to search, with many places where a body could be hidden or where someone injured might be lying. Over the next few days, the search area expanded. By Wednesday, 3 days after Tracy was last seen, search teams were dragging the flooded gravel pits, and divers were searching the lake. The search was extensive, leaving virtually no stone unturned. Tracy's father, Steve Pittman, addressed the press during this time. "We're trying to keep a positive outlook," he said. "Our granddaughter is doing well. Everybody has been so helpful. People have worked very hard in this search. There's no real way we can ever show our appreciation to them." But despite the exhaustive efforts, no trace of Tracy was found. While the physical searches were ongoing, other investigators focused on piecing together a timeline of Tracy's last known movements. It became clear that authorities had more information about Tracy's activities on that Sunday than they publicly released. There are many reasons why they might withhold such information, including protecting the integrity of the investigation. The public knows for certain that Tracy was last seen at a BP gas station around 6:30 p.m. on that Sunday night. The gas station was located at the intersection of U.S. Highway 231 North and Redland Road in Elmore County. Witnesses recalled seeing her there, filling up her gas tank. Filling up the tank suggests she didn't intend to disappear shortly afterward. Old Georgia Road, where her car was found, is roughly midway between the BP gas station and her parents' house. This suggests she was likely on her way home when something happened. However, some reports suggest this route might not have been the most direct. Road work on a portion of Highway 170, also known as Georgia Road, would have been known to Tracy, making it an unlikely route. The road work essentially blocked a section of the road. It's possible she was distracted and forgot about the road work, or perhaps someone who knew where she was living at the time placed her car there, not knowing about the road work. But if Tracy was heading home, she would have encountered the roadwork and turned around, taking a detour. The stop at the BP gas station was routine for Tracy. She often stopped there on her way home. But what was strange was that reports later surfaced that witnesses saw Tracy arguing with 3 other people at the gas station. Information about this argument is vague and difficult to find. Many older articles about the case have been removed from the internet, but the fact that witnesses reported it suggests it was a legitimate lead. The lack of public information about it suggests investigators were intentionally keeping it quiet. The witnesses must have overheard snippets of the discussion to know it was an argument. They must have been able to describe the people Tracy was arguing with. But these people have never been publicly identified. It's very likely that authorities have these details. The fact that Tracy disappeared shortly after this altercation is significant. However, witnesses said that after the argument, Tracy got into her car and drove away, and the other people left in a different direction. It didn't appear to the witnesses that Tracy was being followed. Despite the intense searches in the days following her disappearance, involving 250 volunteers, no clues were found. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Desperate to find their daughter and hoping to encourage the public to provide tips, the Pittmans announced a $10,000 reward for information leading to Tracy's discovery. But the reward didn't yield significant results. Within weeks, the case began to go cold. Investigators followed up on dozens of tips, but none led to any substantial leads. Many people immediately suspected Tracy's ex-husband, Gregory Kegley. However, sources indicate that Gregory was interviewed by investigators, and they found no reason to suspect him. He reportedly had a solid alibi. Authorities also found no motive for him to harm Tracy. He was even allowed to take custody of their daughter. He has no history of criminal activity before or since. While in many cases a spouse or ex-spouse is a primary suspect, that doesn't appear to be the case here. Linda and Steve Pittman have searched tirelessly for their daughter since April 1998. They even funded a billboard in 1999, placed along the road where Tracy was last seen. The billboard featured details of her case, a large photo of Tracy, and tip lines to call day or night. But despite their best efforts and the efforts of law enforcement, Tracy's case went cold. Without new leads, there was little more they could do. No one saw Tracy being abducted. The only witness was her 2-year-old daughter, who was too young to understand or verbalize what she had seen. Everyone who knew Tracy was certain that foul play was involved. There was no way she would have abandoned her daughter on the side of the road. She had been going through a divorce, but she was on the other side of it, looking forward to the future. She would not have voluntarily walked away from her life. Detectives did investigate the possibility that she had left voluntarily, but they found no evidence to support it. And there has never been a credible sighting of Tracy alive and well since that Sunday. A year after her disappearance, the case was transferred to the Alabama Bureau of Investigation. The Elmore County Sheriff's Office remained closely involved, following up on leads and passing on information. Many people have worked on this case, and continue to do so even today. Almost 4 years after her disappearance, the Pittmans temporarily increased the reward for information to $100,000. They also purchased several more billboards to place around Elmore County. They remained convinced that the person responsible was someone from the area, someone local. They hoped that someone driving past these billboards would recognize Tracy and come forward with information. In 2002, Tracy's mother, Linda Pittman, spoke of how much her 6-year-old granddaughter reminded her of Tracy. They shared the same mannerisms and quirky little traits, like having toys in specific places and disliking people sitting on their beds. The daughter went to live with her father after her mother's disappearance, but remained close to her grandparents. As the 10-year anniversary of Tracy's disappearance approached in mid-2007, there was a brief glimmer of hope. A body was found in a shallow grave on the eastern side of Lake Jordan in Elmore County. Tracy's family waited anxiously to see if it was her. Their ultimate hope was that Tracy was alive and well, but eventually they had to confront the possibility that she was not. They wanted closure. Ultimately, the body was not Tracy's, and the search continued. For many years, Tracy's case remained quiet, but she was never forgotten. Then, in 2018, there was a significant development. Authorities announced they would be searching a heavily wooded area in Tallahassee, Alabama, starting at the end of February. This search was based on a lead that had come in back in 2016. It had taken time to investigate the lead and ensure its credibility before taking action. The exact nature of this lead has been kept confidential. But it led to a week-long search of a 300-acre property in southwest Tallahassee. Searching such a large area was a massive undertaking, requiring months of planning. Authorities used real-time geographic information system, GIS, technology to aid in the search, involving more than 20 different agencies, including many of the original searchers from 20 years prior. The property in question was located near both the abandoned car and the BP gas station. The primary objective of the search was to find human remains. Investigators believed this area was where Tracy's body might be found, potentially providing clues to her killer. Captain Joe Herman of the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency was the search commander on the case. He emphasized the importance of finding answers for the family. "The last thing we want is for the family to be victimized twice," he said. "So by not doing something we should be doing, or by forgetting it and not doing anything, then I feel that the family becomes a victim a second time." Authorities obtained a search warrant, issued after a circuit court judge found probable cause that a crime had been committed on the land and that items connected to that crime were likely to be found on the property. Captain Herman presented the facts of the case to conferences of the Sheriff's Association and the Alabama Association of Chiefs of Police, seeking assistance from across the state. The property in question was in a remote area, heavily wooded and accessible only by dirt roads. It was surrounded by a tall fence, making access difficult. Investigators used aerial and satellite imagery of the property, compiled by the Alabama Fusion Center, dating back to when Tracy went missing, to gather information about the land, roads, paths, ponds, and structures. They were particularly interested in the structures, the homes, and buildings, so the SWAT team could clear them. The coordination between different agencies was remarkable. In many cases, these types of cases are not given proper attention. But in Tracy's case, even 20 years later, there was a significant amount of organization and care. When the first teams arrived at the property on a Sunday, they encountered an unexpected scene. The land was covered with dead and dying deer carcasses and bones. It was described as eerie. However, the large number of deer had cleared much of the vegetation, which aided the ground search. The next day, more than 20 agencies arrived to assist. Each searcher was equipped with a smartphone, allowing the command center to check in and track their progress. They also used an app to photograph in detail any suspicious items. Any information entered into the app was immediately sent to the command center for further review. The app also showed areas that had already been searched, preventing duplication of effort. District Attorney Houston emphasized that the Pittmans were at the forefront of the searchers' minds. Linda Pittman expressed her gratitude for the volunteers, noting their dedication and care. Authorities also held daily 4 p.m. briefings with the media, keeping Tracy's name and face in the public eye. Even if the search didn't yield immediate results, they hoped it might prompt someone to come forward with information. On March 1, 2018, it was reported that potential evidence had been found on the 4th day of the search. This evidence, found by divers in a pond, was sent to the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences for evaluation. The exact nature of the evidence was not disclosed. D.A. Houston noted that the pond was filled with deer bones. "I'm fairly confident that what we're going to have is going to be deer bones," he said, but forensics couldn't identify it at the scene, so he sent it to the lab. It's possible the item found in the water were potential human bones. However, nothing further has been released about this evidence, and it's now 2023, 5 years later. It's likely that the item was determined to be animal remains. At the time of the search, the $10,000 reward from Tracy's parents was still active. Governor Kay Ivey also issued a $10,000 reward, and Crime Stoppers offered an additional $1,000. An anonymous donor added $4,000, bringing the total reward to $25,000. Despite the extensive search, it doesn't appear that anything significant was found on the property, at least publicly. Investigators have been tight-lipped about the details. However, D.A. Houston stated at the time that they had 3 suspects they believed were involved in the case, and that those suspects were still in Elmore County. "We know who you are," he said, "and if you don't come see us very soon, we'll be coming to see you." This was a bold statement, especially considering that it is now 2023 and no arrests have been made. It suggests that authorities believe they know who is responsible, but lack sufficient evidence for a conviction. It's also interesting to note the connection between the three people Tracy was seen arguing with at the gas station and the three suspects mentioned by the DA. Despite these statements, the case seems to have reached another dead end. In 2019, a 45-year-old man named Coley McCraney was arrested in a local cold case, the 1999 murders of Tracy Hawlett and J.B. Beasley. He was arrested after a DNA match was found using forensic genealogy. This arrest sparked hope in Tracy's case, and investigators looked into whether McCraney could also be responsible for her disappearance. However, nothing came of that investigation. The renewed interest in Tracy's case was important in keeping her name and face in the public eye. The more her story is shared, the more likely it is that someone will come forward with helpful information. District Attorney Houston told WSFA in 2019 that they had sent some items from the 2018 search to forensics, but had not received any valuable results. Again, the nature of these items was not specified. Houston made it clear that even with a DNA match, proving a case can be a significant challenge. Houston retired in October 2022. He stated that not being able to solve Tracy's case has always weighed heavily on him and still keeps him up at night. Sheriff Franklin and the other agencies involved continue to follow up on any leads and remain committed to solving Tracy's case for her, her parents, and her daughter. Anyone with any information is asked to contact either Crime Stoppers at 344-215-7867 or the Elmore County Sheriff's Office at 334-56-75441. The $25,000 reward is still active for any information leading to Tracy's discovery and the arrest and conviction of those responsible for her disappearance and/or death.